Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're opening up something pretty fascinating, a conversation that was actually first recorded way back in 1968.
On audio tape, yeah.
And the story goes, it was deliberately kept under wraps, hidden away.
That's right. We're diving into the Seth Material today, specifically the parts that were allegedly suppressed for, 5 decades?
50 years. Because the ideas in it about life, death, reality, even God, they were just considered too radical, too much for the mainstream back then.
Exactly. And that's the core of what we want to explore for you. The voice on those tapes, it belonged to Seth, not a physical person, but a conscious channeled through an author, Jane Roberts.
Which sounds, pretty out there. For years, this was dismissed as fringe stuff, right?
Okay.
Mysticism.
Totally. But our mission today, for you listening, is to really unpack the main claim. Things like consciousness is eternal, death isn't an end, it's a liberation.
And that reality, our reality, is actually co-created by our thoughts.
And maybe the biggest one that humanity is right now on the verge of.
But here's the kicker, and why we're doing this deep dive now.
The validation.
Yeah. How so many of these concepts, things called mystical back in the 60s, are now finding echoes, even validation, in modern science.
Startling validation sometimes. Quantum physics, neuroscience. We'll get into the specifics. It's pretty compelling stuff.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
Yeah.
This isn't just like armchair philosophy.
Right.
If this material is accurate, it's a fundamental blueprint for existence. It changes everything about who you think you are, why you're here.
Absolutely.
And we have to start, I think, with the biggest fear. The one that, according to Seth, keeps us locked into a really limited view of everything. So let's just get straight to it. Death.
The big one.
Yeah. The sources, the Seth Material, they argue pretty strongly that our whole culture, our society, uses this fear-based programming. It conditions us, basically.
Deeply conditions us to believe that death is it, the final stop, catastrophe, annihilation.
And Seth's argument is that this belief is maybe the most destructive one humanity holds.
That's what he claimed, yeah. Because it forces us to live, defensive, caution.
Defensively. How so?
It leads to what he called half alive.
Half alive. Wow.
Think about it. All the language we use, right? Passing away, losing someone, they're gone forever.
Yeah, it all implies finality, loss.
Every single phrase reinforces this idea that the essential self, the core of who someone is just extinct, wiped out.
And if your whole life is built around avoiding that inevitable wipeout.
Your choices shrink, don't they? You start prioritizing security above being authentic, above taking risks, creating.
Stability becomes the goal, not living fully.
Exactly. So in Seth's view, that fear of mortality, that specific fear, it's the root cause of so much anxiety, so many personal issues, even cultural problems, neuroses, basically.
There's a massive paradox then. Believing in total extinction makes us cling so tightly to this life
that we often don't even experience it fully. We're too busy protecting.
But Seth offers a completely different picture of death itself, the process. I was really struck by that analogy.
The heavy winter.
Yeah. Death is like taking off a heavy winter coat you've worn for so long, you actually forgot you even had it on.
It's a crucial analogy because it directly tackles that fear of losing yourself, losing your identity.
Right. The coat is just the physical body, the limitation.
Exactly. The body, its senses, they're like a vehicle. Necessary for this specific journey, this physical experience. But when consciousness withdraws from that vehicle,
it's not destroyed.
Not at all. It's not only eternal, indestructible, but it actually experiences an immediate expansion. It's like the focus just shifts.
Like light through a lens.
That's another good way to think about it. Imagine light passing through a really dense, maybe scratch restrictive lens. Death is just removing that lens.
So the full spectrum can operate again. Without the constraints.
Precisely. Which implies the transition itself isn't scary, it's a revelation.
Okay, so how did Seth describe that moment, the actual transition, the moment, as the outline calls it?
He described it as probably the most profound recognition possible. Imagine you've lived your entire life inside a tiny, windowless room, and you genuinely believe those four walls, that floor, that ceiling, that's all there is. Your entire reality is built around those limits.
Right.
Then, in that moment of transition, you suddenly realize those walls were temporary. They weren't the whole picture. And you step outside into the entire universe.
Wow.
You grasp instantly that you have access to vastly more reality than you ever conceived possible. Seth used this idea of the keyhole perspective.
We're just looking through a keyhole.
Yeah, during physical life. And death is when that keyhole view suddenly opens up to the whole door, the whole landscape beyond.
And the key part for alleviating fear is that you don't disappear. Your memories, your personality,
your identity, your love for others, your unique way of being. Seth was adamant that it all remains intact. It continues seamlessly.
It just integrates into something larger.
Exactly. Consciousness starts to loosen its really tight grip on the physical framework. People who've had near-death experiences often report this, right? Feeling lighter, this incredible sense of relief, no physical pressure.
The identity doesn't dissolve.
No. It expands, it integrates.
Okay, but what about the really difficult? Sudden death, violent death. From our side here, it looks incredibly dramatic. We assume the psyche is shattered along with the body.
And that's a huge point Seth challenged directly. He insisted that the trauma, the psychic trauma, related to the physical act of dying, that only exists from the limited perspective of us, the observers, still in physical reality.
So the person transitioning doesn't experience it.
The moment consciousness withdraws, he said, there's an immediate understanding, an understanding of the larger purpose, the meaning of that specific event within the soul's entire journey.
An instant comprehension of the bigger picture.
Yeah, which, if true, completely shift how we think about grief, about loss, about tragedy.
It definitely does. And this leads straight into one of the most controversial bits, and maybe one reason this stuff might have been suppressed, like the sources suggest.
The idea that we choose our death.
Exactly, that we choose the experience. If our end isn't just random chance, but somehow determined by a deeper part of ourselves, that changes our whole relationship with fate, doesn't it?
Radical. Seth was very clear, though. This isn't your everyday conscious mind making the choice. It's not you deciding, okay, I'll check out next Tuesday.
Right. Not the ego mind worrying about bills.
No. It's chosen from much deeper levels of your being, what he often called the entity or the soul. And the choice is based on your core beliefs, your psychological state, your readiness, and what's needed for your overall growth in that lifetime.
Can you give an example?
Well, maybe a soul is focused on learning about intense resilience, or maybe sparking change in others. They might choose from that deeper level a sudden catalytic kind of departure, one that has ripples, affects many people, and generates a lot of learning across that whole web of consciousness.
So if our deepest beliefs shape that final experience.
But understanding our beliefs right now becomes incredibly important, not just for living, but potentially for that transit whenever it comes.
Why do the sources suggest the really detailed stuff about the transition was held back, suppressed?
The idea seems to be that the specific, what happens immediately after death, how consciousness is supposedly greeted, how it reorganized, the realization of connection to everything, that was considered just too challenge time, too disruptive.
Disruptive to what? Social order?
Potentially. Think about it pragmatically. If an entire population truly knew deep down that their essential nature is eternal, indestructible, that suffering is temporary and part of a larger growth,
they'd be harder to control.
Much harder, especially through fear. Fear of death, fear of scarcity, fear of authority.
Yeah.
You shift from being reactive, maybe feeling dependent,
to being an active, creative force.
Exactly. The moment that deep fear of mortality dissolves, you stop living so defensively. You start stepping into your actual creative power. And that kind of shift in individuals, scaled up, fundamentally changes the social fabric.
Okay, so if we accept, even hypothetically, this idea of an eternal nature, it leads right into the next the mechanics of reality itself.
Right. And this is where Seth really flips the script on cause and effect.
Our normal assumption is brain creates reality is out there, fixed, separate from us.
Standard model, materialism.
But Seth said, absolutely not.
Emphatically no. His core revelation was that consciousness with a capital C perhaps is the fundamental energy, is the primal stuff of what he called all that is expressing itself.
And it creates matter.
It creates matter. Matter is the result, not the cause. It sounds abstract, maybe a bit philosophical.
But he gave a kind of mechanism for it.
He did. He explained that what we perceive as solid reality, table, your body, the air, it's all just focused energy. Consciousness slowed down, lowered to a frequency that's dense enough for our physical sense to interact.
Like ice and water.
That's a great analogy he used. Arguing matter creates consciousness is like saying ice creates water. It gets the relationship backward. Ice is just water in a specific temporary state. Matter is just in a specific focus.
Okay, so if consciousness is the energy, then our thoughts aren't just passive things happening in our heads.
Not at all. They are active, creative. They're instructions.
Instructions, like blueprints.
Precisely. Thoughts provide the blueprint. They determine the form, the architecture, what manifests.
For instance.
Emotions are the fuel. They provide the intensity, the power, the velocity behind the blueprint.
So thoughts are the plan, emotions are the energy.
And conscious energy itself is the construction crew. Taking that plan and that fuel and constantly manifesting the corresponding physical data, moment to moment.
Constantly. So it's happening right now.
According to Seth, yes. Continuously maintaining the illusion of solidity, the persistence of the physical world around.
That completely changes how you think about your own mind, doesn't it? If you're worrying obsessively about something.
You're not just feeling anxious. You're actively instructing your energy field to create patterns, situations, even physical symptoms that match that.
It kind of eliminates the victim mentality, or at least challenges it profoundly.
It really does. Because even when things are genuinely difficult, the source of the power to change them or respond to them differently is always seen as being within you. You're never truly powerless.
Were there examples in the material of how quickly this could work? this energy reorganization?
Yes, some remarkable ones. Seth apparently told a story about a woman with severe chronic back pain, just relentless pain.
Okay.
And the pain persisted because unconsciously she held this deep belief, a core creative instruction. You could say that she had to carry everyone else's burden, physically, emotionally.
Like a literal weight on her shoulders or back.
Exactly. And when she finally, through insight, managed to truly release that specific belief intellectually and emotionally,
The pain.
instantly, the energy that was constantly maintaining the pattern of pain, the muscle tension, the inflammation, whatever the physical mechanism was, it simply reorganized. Her body didn't need a long healing process because the instruction creating the pain was removed. The pattern ceased to be generated.
That's a fundamental rethink of chronic conditions. But, okay, if thoughts are instructed and reality seems to unfold moment by moment, linear, how does this instantaneous creation work? How does it look sequential?
That brings us to maybe the most mind-bending part, non-linear time.
Right. Our experience feels like past, present, future, a straight line.
But Seth argued that the creative process, the actual manifesting, happens outside of that linear framework we perceive. He explained that your deeper consciousness, your entity, exists in what he called an eternal now, or a spacious present.
The eternal now.
So your focused thought, your deeply felt intention today, isn't just sending ripples into tomorrow.
It's going backwards, too.
It's radiating backwards and forwards through time simultaneously from the perspective of the...
Okay, wait, how does that work? That sounds like it breaks causality.
From our linear view, yes. But if time isn't a fixed line, but more like a landscape you can access different points of, then it makes a different kind of sense. This is Seth's explanation for things like intuition, gut feelings.
Synchronicity. Thinking of someone and then they call.
Exactly. He argued these aren't weird glitches or supernatural powers. They're perfectly natural functions of your consciousness operating beyond the artificial limits of sequential time. You're tapping into information from the whole tapestry of your existence, which, from a higher level, exists all at once.
And this explains that really startling example about the job visual.
It does. It's a crucial illustration of how complex this nonlinear creation can be.
Let's recap that because it really challenges standard thinking. The claim was a man visualizes getting a specific job, intensely focuses on it.
Right.
And it didn't just affect how well he did in the future interview.
No. Seth claimed the visualization, the focused intention in the present, somehow reached back and influenced past events that actually led to that job becoming available in the first place.
Like the employer's decision weeks earlier.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
The decision to create that specific role, or maybe the criteria they decided to look for in a candidate. Seth suggested these past actions could be subtly influenced, drawn into alignment by the powerful, focused intention existing in the applicant's present moment.
That requires a huge leap. It's like cause and effect working back.
Or maybe working outside of linear sequence altogether. Think of it like intention creates a pattern, a resonance, and that pattern pulls relevant events into alignment across the timeline. If consciousness is fundamentally unified and the entity exists in this fluid now,
then past, present, future are just points of focus, not fixed compartments.
That's the idea. The focused intent acts like a kind of gravitational pull, organizing seemingly unrelated events, past, present, and future, to converge on the manifested outcome.
Okay, there's a lot to take in. But if we accept even a fraction of this, the practical implication is huge. It shifts everything from being reactive to being deliberately creative.
Moving from unconscious creator to conscious creator. That's the goal.
What specific tools or techniques did Seth suggest for actually doing that, for harnessing this power?
He offered a pretty clear framework. First, and maybe foundational, was deep meditation.
But not just to relax.
No, not as an escape. More as a way to consciously tune into that fundamental frequency of conscious self, the creative engine room.
Okay, meditation to connect to the source. What else?
Second, visualization. But he stressed it wasn't just passive daydreaming.
Like making a mental movie.
More like active, detailed architectural planning. You're consciously laying down the energetic blueprint for the reality you intend.
Blueprint, fuel,
Yeah.
construction crew. But you said emotions were the fuel, so that must be key
But
too.
it's absolutely vital. He called it emotional alignment. This might be the trickiest part for many people.
What? What does it mean? How does it work as an energetic bridge, as the notes say?
Because it requires you to genuinely feel the feelings of the desired outcome. Gratitude, joy, certainty, relief, before it physically manifests.
Feel it like it's already real.
Exactly. Because from the perspective of your larger self, your entity, in that nonlinear reality Seth called Framework 2, which we'll get to, that desired outcome already exists as a potential or even a probability.
So by feeling the emotion now?
You're creating an energetic map, a resonance, like tuning fork. You align your current energy field with the energy field of the reality you want to experience. That alignment acts like an irresistible bridge, pulling the physical data, the circumstances, the events into sync with your intentions.
It's like recognizing you already have it. energetically.
Precisely. Recognizing you're already whole, you lack nothing essential, and you're just allowing the physical manifestation to catch up to the energetic reality.
Wow. Okay, so the big takeaway from this whole section, it's a massive shift in power for you, the listener.
Absolutely. You are not just a cork bobbing on the waves of circumstance or genetics or bad luck.
You've actually been the creator all along, just maybe, unconsciously.
Steering the ship without realizing you're at the helm.
Exactly. And once you start to internalize the sheer scale of your own creative responsibility, your own power, it becomes very difficult to see yourself as small or insignificant ever again. And this understanding, this power shift, it ties directly into how Seth redefined the ultimate source, divinity itself.
Right. This was apparently another really revolutionary part. Challenging basic religious, which probably didn't help with the whole suppression angle either.
Very likely not. Seth very deliberately avoided using the word God, most of the time anyway. He preferred the term all that is.
Which sounds maybe less personal, but the difference was more than just semantics, right?
Oh, much more. It completely dismantled that traditional image of God as, a separate external being, a cosmic parent figure sitting outside the universe, judging, demanding worship.
All that isn't outside of it. No, all that is the conscious, living, evolving fabric of existence itself. It's pure energy, pure awareness, pure potentiality. And it encompasses everything. This universe, all other probable realities, every consciousness within them.
So they're not just creations of all that is.
We are all that is. Individualized expressions of it, like unique facets of an infinite diamond. All that is experiencing itself, learning about itself, evolving through your unique perspective, your unique life.
Okay, that's huge. If we are aspects of the divine fabric, then concepts like sin, judgment, needing salvation from outside, they just dissolve, don't they?
Completely. How can all that is punish itself? How can it judge a part of its own being? Seth argued that what religions often call sin is simply consciousness learning through contrast, through making choice, experiencing concept through struggle and discovery.
There's no eternal damnation, just
feedback. If you make choices that lead to pain or unhappiness, your consciousness learns from that lack of joy, that lack of fulfillment, and that learning, that new awareness gets integrated back into the whole tapestry of all that is. It contributes to the overall.
So you don't need saving because you were never fundamentally flawed or lost to begin with.
You were always part of the love and awareness, just focused into a specific physical form for a unique experience.
This also changes how we view birth. It's not the absolute beginning of.
Right. Birth is more like tuning a radio to a specific state. Consciousness, the larger you, which Seth called the entity, decides to focus its attention and energy into a particular physical life, this state.
For a reason.
Always for Seth. Before each life, the entity supposedly chooses the circumstances, the time period, the parents, the culture, the likely challenges and opportunities. It designs the classroom best suited for the specific lessons and growth in that.
Okay, the entity. Let's unpack that a bit more. This connects to the idea of simultaneous life, right, which is another really complex concept.
It is complex, but core to Seth's cosmology. The entity is your larger, multidimensional soul self, your core identity.
Gestalt of the soul, I think the note said.
Yes, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Seth used the analogy of a tree. The entity is the trunk.
And each lifetime is a branch.
Exactly. Every lifetime, past, present, future, and all the probable versions of those lives that could have happened or might still happen, they are all branches growing out from that central trunk, that core entity.
And the mind-bending part. They're all happening now, simultaneously.
From the entity's perspective, yes. Time, as we experience it linearly, is a construct for physical reality. The entity exists outside that construct. So while you are focused here now in this century.
Another part of me, my entity, it could be, I don't know, a medieval farmer or living on another planet.
Or could be a probable self, a version of you who made a different major life choice 10 years ago and is living out that reality. All these experiences are concurrent for the entity.
Wow. Okay. Do these branches affect each other? Do these simultaneous lives communicate?
Seth said yes, absolutely. The entity's consciousness is unified, so it learns from all these diverse experiences at once. There are energetic links, subconscious flows of information, resonance between the branches.
So that feeling of deja vu or instant connection with a stranger or knowing how to do something you never learned.
Could be bleed through. Information, skills, or emotional resonance transferring across the network. It also explains soul groups or soul families, the idea that certain entities often choose to incarnate together across different lives to work through shared lessons or themes. These relationships are orchestrated by the entities involved for growth.
But then the big question comes back. If we are this vast, eternal entity living all these lives at once, why don't we remember? Why the forgetting? It seems like a flaw.
Seth argued the exact opposite. He said the forgetting is perhaps the most ingenious part of the whole design. It's not a flaw, not a punishment. It's an essential feature.
Essential for what?
For genuine experience, for authentic growth. Think about it. If you consciously remembered being an immortal, invulnerable, multidimensional soul with access to infinite knowledge.
The challenges of this life wouldn't seem so challenging.
Exactly. Fear would lose its sting. Hard choices wouldn't feel consequential. Love wouldn't feel so precious. You wouldn't really learn courage or compassion or resilience. You'd just be like playing a video game on God.
The stakes wouldn't feel real.
Right. By forgetting our larger nature, we commit fully to the role we're playing in this life. We experience genuine emotions, make authentic choices, face real seeming limitations. Seth called it method acting on a cosmic scale.
Method acting, I like that. It generates the raw, real emotional data the entity needs to evolve.
Precisely.
Okay, so the forgetting is necessary for the experience, but surely there must be ways to access some of that greater knowledge, that bigger picture, while we're still here.
Yes, and this is where Seth introduced the crucial concept of Framework 2.
Framework 1 is our normal physical reality.
Yes, the world we perceive through our physical senses operating within linear time. Framework 2 is the inner reality, the non-physical domain that underlies Framework 1.
What's in Framework 2?
Everything else, essentially. It's the vast, timeless reservoir of potentiality, where all possibilities exist simultaneously, where solutions to problems are worked out before they manifest physically, where the energetic blueprints for every invention, every art, every scientific discovery reside. It's the source.
The silent backdrop to our noisy physical lives.
A perfect way to put it.
So how do we tap into it? How do we access Framework 2? Seth mentioned focused receptivity.
Right. It's a specific state of mind related to meditation, but maybe more It involves holding a clear question or a problem you need insight on, or just an intention to receive useful information.
Holding the question.
But then, and this is the crucial part, consciously letting go of trying to figure out the answer with your logical mind. You release preconceived notions, expectations about how the answer should look. It's a state of alert surrender, being open.
That sounds difficult. Our minds want to jump in and solve.
Extremely difficult sometimes. Seth really emphasized distinguishing between the normal chatter of the analytical mind, the Framework 1 logic, and genuine insights arriving from Framework 2.
How do you tell the difference?
He suggested that insights from Framework 2 often feel different. They might seem surprising, even foreign to your usual way of thinking, sometimes counterintuitive, but they often carry this inherent ring of truth, a feeling of aha, a quiet certainty that the mind's noisy arguments lack. They can arrive suddenly as a complete understanding, rather than a step-by-step deduction.
Like a download.
Kinda, yeah.
And ultimately, bridging these two frameworks, our daily life and this inner potential, comes down to expanding our sense of identity.
That seems to be moving beyond identifying solely as, I am this body, this name, this personality.
And starting to genuinely sense, or at least intellectually accept, I am an eternal consciousness, currently choosing to focus through this specific lens, this personality, for a unique experience.
Yeah, because that recognition fundamentally changes the meaning of everything that happens here. Every challenge isn't just a burden. It's an opportunity for growth. Every joy isn't just fleeting pleasure. It's the universe experiencing delight. Every interaction, every struggle, generating unique experiential data that informs and expands the entire fabric of all that is.
You're not just enduring life, you're actively contributing to the evolution of consciousness itself.
Exactly. You are an indispensable part of the divine becoming.
Okay, so we've covered eternal life, reality creation, simultaneous selves, all that is. These are huge, challenging ideas. And if it stopped there, it might remain purely philosophical.
Right. But the sources, the Seth Material, offer something else, something that for many people makes it much harder to...
Scientific alignments.
The startling scientific... Seth was discussing concepts, mechanisms back in the 60s and 70s, things that mainstream science wouldn't discover or confirm for decades after.
Let's go through some specific examples because this is pretty compelling. What about the brain?
Okay, neuroplasticity. Back then, the standard scientific view was pretty rich. The adult brain is fixed, done developing. You couldn't really change its structure.
What you've got is what you've got.
Pretty much. But Seth was teaching, repeated, that consciousness, your beliefs, your focus, your attention could literally reshape the physical neural pathways in your brain.
He was teaching neuroplasticity before it was called.
Decades before, neuroscientists widely accepted and demonstrated that the adult brain is plastic, that it constantly reorganizes itself based on experience, learning, and even focused thought. He was essentially laying out the principles of applied neuroplasticity.
Wow. Okay, what else?
Well, then there's the deep dive into physics, quantum,
which is famously weird and counterintuitive.
And Seth's descriptions tapped right into that. He talked constantly about the fundamental interconnectedness of all, no real separation between individuals, between anything at the deepest level.
Which sounds a lot like
quantum entanglement. That spooky action at a distance, as Einstein called it. The idea that particles can be linked, instantaneously influencing each other no matter how far apart they are. Seth was describing the macro version of that, a universe woven together by consciousness.
And the observer effect, the idea that just looking at something changes it.
He tackled that too, but not just for tiny particles, he universalized it. Seth argued that your observation, which is really your consciousness, your beliefs, your expectations, actively structures the energy that then collapses or manifests as the physical reality.
So we're not passive observers at all.
We're active participants in the creation of every moment. He basically provided the philosophical why behind the quantum how.
His view of the cosmos itself was also predictive.
Incredibly so. He gave detailed descriptions of consciousness existing across multiple probabilities, different versions of reality branching off based,
which sounds uncannily like
modern multiverse theories, ideas emerging from string theory and cosmology decades later, but maybe even more specific was his description of what the universe is actually of.
Beyond the stars and planets.
Way beyond. He described this vast background consciousness or energy, intelligent, aware, holding the structure of reality together, but invisible to our normal sense. He said it made up the vast majority of the universe.
And fast forward to today, astrophysicists are talking
dark matter and dark energy. The mysterious something that calculations show must make up around 95% of the universe's mass energy budget, but which we can't direct. Seth seemed to be describing the conscious, energetic scaffolding of the cosmos long before science even had names for the missing.
That's pretty specific when we're genetic.
Epigenetic. Back when the central dogma was all about DNA as fixed destiny, your genes determine your fate. Seth was...
What did he say?
He taught that consciousness, your beliefs, your environment, your emotional state could influence which genes actually get expressed, which ones are turned on or off.
And now?
Now we have the whole field of epigenetics confirming exactly that. External factors, including potentially our thoughts and feelings via stress hormones, etc., profoundly regulate gene expression without changing the underlying DNA sequence itself.
The consistency across these different fields, neuroscience, quantum physics, cosmology, genetics, it's hard to ignore.
It really is. It lends a lot of weight to the material. And it means we probably ought to take his messages about our collective reality very seriously, too.
Particularly this idea he called cosmic pain.
Yes. If we truly are all interconnected, part of one vast web of awareness, one entity experiencing itself,
then suffering isn't isolated.
It can't. Pain, trauma, distress in one part of the web inevitably ripple the whole, like a vibration traveling across a spider's.
So when there's environmental destruction or war or massive social injustice somewhere,
the entire conscious network registers that disturbance, that pain on some level.
Is that why some people feel this vague, unexplained sadness or anxiety sometimes, even when their own lives seem okay?
Seth suggested that's often exactly what's happening. Sensitive individuals, especially, might be unconsciously picking up on this background noise of collective suffering, environmental distress, social upheaval, widespread fear. It permeates.
That sounds incredibly burdensome. Like you have to carry the weight of the world. How do you even deal with that? How do you know if it's yours or the world?
Making that distinction is absolutely crucial. Seth taught that the first step is recognizing when a heavy emotion you're feeling doesn't actually originate. It feels more less specific.
Okay, recognize it's not personal failure. Then what?
Then you reframe it. Seth did something radical here. He called cosmic pain cosmic love disguise.
Love in disguise. How?
No, because it's the system signaling that something is out of balance. It's a call for awareness, for healing, for change. It stems from the underlying love and unity wanting to restore harmony. Understanding this allows you to stop feeling guilty or overwhelmed by the collective emotion.
And instead,
you can consciously choose to transmute it. Acknowledge the pain is real, but don't identify with it personally. Then consciously send energy of healing, clarity, compassion, or peace back into the collective field. Your own inner work, your own healing, then becomes a direct contribution to healing the whole web.
Your personal transformation ripples outwards, too.
Exactly. It works both ways.
This interconnectedness, this collective pain, it leads directly to what Seth apparently saw as the most urgent message for humanity right now.
The evolutionary leap.
He saw the current global crises, climate change, political polarization, inequality, all of it, not as random disasters.
Not random at all, but as necessary pressures, forcing humanity as a species to make a fundamental
shift from what to what?
From the old dominant mode of ego-based consciousness, which operates on separation, competition, fear, and a belief in scarcity.
To a new mode.
To a soul-based awareness, one that recognizes unity, interconnection, cooperation, and operates from love and a sense of abundance. It's a species-level developmental jump, like moving from childhood to adolescence, perhaps.
And the crises are the growing pains.
Essentially, yeah. The old structures, the old ways of thinking based on fear and limitation, they literally cannot solve the problems. They have to break down to make way for something new, something based on a deeper understanding.
So how does Seth suggest we navigate this if we're in the middle of this huge, maybe chaotic transition?
His guidance wasn't about escaping physical reality, not about just meditating on a mountaintop and waiting for things to
Right.
It's about transformation, bringing higher consciousness into everyday life. He talked about developing bridge
Consciousness. What does that mean practically for someone listening?
It means learning to function effectively within the current systems, the jobs, the families, the societies we live in, the framework one structures.
While simultaneously holding and embody the vision, the print of the new conscious, the framework to awareness of unity, love, creative power. So you're living in both worlds.
You're acting as a bridge between them, a non-judgmental. You understand the old system, you can navigate it, but your choices, your energy, your focus are aligned with building the new.
And every choice matters.
Every single choice. How you spend your money, what you give your attention to, how you treat other people, how you manage your own thoughts and emotions. Each action is essentially a vote. It either supports the old consciousness of fear and separation, or it helps build the new consciousness of love, create.
Choice is always there, moment by moment.
Continuously present. And according to Seth, we are all conscious participants, whether we realize it fully yet or not, in the most profound transformation humanity has ever. #tag outro.
Wow. Okay. This has been quite the journey. A really deep dive, starting with a conversation supposedly suppressed back in 1968.
And ending with a vision of reality and our place in it that's finding these incredible echoes in modern science.
Yeah. The fundamental shift this Seth Material presents is just staggering. If it's right, you are not some temporary blip, not a biological accident heading for dust.
No, you are an eternal, fundamentally indestructible consciousness. You are actively co-creating your reality, and right now, you're being called.
Called to participate consciously in this huge evolutionary step for our species, moving towards unity, towards recognizing our creative power.
And the sources suggest this kind of knowledge might have been suppressed precisely because it's so empowering. It's pretty hard to manipulate or control a population that truly understands its own innate divinity, its eternal nature, its connection to all that is.
But maybe that truth, the truth of our being, just can't be contained forever. It finds ways to emerge.
It seems so.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something drawn right from the heart of this Seth Material.
If it's true, if the fundamental force of the universe, this all that is constantly evolving, constantly learning, constantly experiencing your unique perspective,
then what new aspect of reality, what new depth of understanding or creativity or compassion or love, what are you going to consciously choose to teach the universe today?